It may seem odd, but bear with me for a while. What if the key to getting her to care more was really to care less? Imagine a man who is steady, grounded, and confident in his own worth, whether or not he receives attention. That's the kind of man who piques curiosity and earns deeper affection. In today's video, we're delving into one of the most fascinating paradoxes in relationships: why a woman frequently needs you to not care in order to love you. I'll share with you how mastering this mindset and understanding the art of genuine balanced indifference can change not only your dating life, but also your perception of yourself. You'll understand why women naturally gravitate towards guys. They exude a serene confidence in their completeness, regardless of whether they attract attention or not. Come learn how stoic emotional independence can make you a man who commands attention and commands it. We'll explore why genuine attraction begins when you stop trying so hard. One of the paradoxes we encounter is the paradox of apathy. Pay close attention, because what I'm going to share may seem contradictory and even unsettling, but believe me, it's one of the most enlightening revelations regarding attraction and relationships. It's a paradox, isn't it, that society and the media have conditioned us to believe that unrelenting pursuit and unending devotion are the keys to a woman's heart, but reality shows otherwise. Women need you to not care, at least not in the way you might think, for them to truly love or even like you. When you put your sense of value in her hands, you become a mere echo of her choices and feelings. This is not about being cold or heartless. Rather, it's about realizing and embracing a powerful truth of attraction. Let me give an example. Picture two men. More you lean in and chase, less your value grows. Which man, in your opinion, arouses greater curiosity, admiration, and genuine attraction? One man is always available, responding to every text within seconds and adapting his life to suit her needs without hesitation. The other is a man who respects himself, doesn't fear silence, and can say no when necessary. He conveys that his light doesn't revolve around her, and that he is in control of his own happiness. Therefore, without a doubt, he is the second one. Males who radiate implicit confidence tend to attract women. You become someone worth knowing and worth loving when you demonstrate that you're unaffected by every emotional wave and that you're not frantically seeking approval. This is where applying some Stoic wisdom can be beneficial. Men who are whole with or without their attention must understand that this isn't about playing games or using manipulative tactics. Rather, it's about exhibiting self-respect. Epicurus famously remarked that what matters is not what occurs to you, but rather how you respond to it. Remember this every day. You are the protector of your own serenity. You are the only one who can control your emotions, and a calm person in a crisis is beautiful. Consider this paradox of indifference as a boundary that says, I value you, but I value myself too. Women, whether consciously or unconsciously, respond to this balance because it tells them that, even though you care about them, you are independent, have interests, passions, and an inner world that flourishes whether or not she returns your attention at that particular moment. Here's another example to illustrate this point. Let's say you're dating someone and she starts to distance herself. Your natural response might be to try harder to find out why. But here's the twist. Taking a step back, making room, and not responding out of fear of losing conveys a deep meaning and demonstrates that your emotional stability is independent of her. This space and stillness have the capacity to convey a message more potently than 1,000 words or imposing actions. You invite her to care more and wonder what she will miss when you realize that the other person is not yours by default and outside your control. Isn't that the heart of attraction? Take this paradox to heart, not to act detached or indifferent as a facade, but to genuinely find peace in your own worth by caring. Because I need to be here, I choose not to be. just enough. By not basing everything on getting her approval, you set the stage for a genuine, deep connection with Blossom, and that's where true love starts. The second myth-busting modern dating strategy, dating beliefs. Today, let's dispel some myths that may be preventing you from moving forward in the dating game without you even realizing it. You've definitely heard about, and that women yearn for. Although there is some validity to the notion that confidence is appealing, excessive concern can contradict your intentions. Here's the twist that might surprise you. When your attention crosses the fine line from being genuinely interested to being overly invested, you're sending a message that can undermine your worth in her eyes. Why is this? Excessive caring, such as constant checking in, excessive availability, or an eagerness that borders on desperation, sends a message, either consciously or subconsciously, that you are not as valuable as her other options. You could be thinking that the best approach to win her heart is to show interest, but the truth is that in today's dating society, appearances are everything. She might interpret your excessive eagerness as a lack of confidence or a lack of other options. Think about the Stoic idea of emotional detachment. It's not about being aloof or walled off. Rather, it's about preserving equilibrium so that you are emotionally strong and unaffected by criticism from others. Imagine a situation where you're dating someone new and everything is going well, but then she starts to withdraw. It's natural to want to show her how much you care, but Stoic wisdom comes in. As Seneca once noted, we suffer more in our imagination than in reality because we fear losing her, and your attempt to make up for it by putting in more work only makes you seem less confident in your value. Instead, realize this: when you focus, you change the dynamic by focusing less on how she sees you and more on how you see yourself. You're not being aloof. Instead, you're sincerely working on your inner calm and self-assurance. When a man is content with himself and his happiness isn't dependent on their reaction, women can sense this subtle energy. Now let's talk about how caring too much might backfire. Although it may seem kind and considerate, sending her good morning texts on a regular basis, complimenting her, and making sure she knows how interested you are can suggest that you don't think you're positive enough as you are, and that you need to work hard to prove it. On the other hand, a man who has his own interests and isn't afraid of silence conveys confidence and doesn't try too hard because he knows he doesn't have to. Stoicism advises that you should never base your sense of value on other people's acceptance or viewpoints. Epicurus once said that if you want to get better, be happy that people think you're stupid and foolish. This doesn't imply carelessness or arrogance. Rather, it signifies a sense of comfort with people's perceptions of you, as their opinions don't diminish your value. Take that attitude into your dating life when you demonstrate that your feelings are independent of her behavior or reactions. You exude a strength that subtly but clearly demands respect. So keep in mind that showing too much concern in the beginning when it seems undeserved will lower your dating value. The confidence that draws and sustains her interest stems from upholding your emotional boundaries and showcasing your unwavering life, purpose, and self-respect. Number 3, understanding, recognizing attraction and interest. I know this sounds harsh, perhaps even confusing, especially when the world tells you that being openly expressive is a sign of strength. But let me share something that may challenge your beliefs, but could change the way you approach relationships. The more you show that you care, the less attractive you can become. Ignore. It's not because they're playing games. Rather, it's because human nature, particularly attraction, follows certain patterns, and understanding these patterns can significantly impact your relationship. Women are extremely perceptive when it comes to reading the balance of interest and attraction in a relationship. They can sense when the dynamics shift, when you're trying a little too hard. Consider this situation. When someone you really like texts you, you type back with a smile on your face before the notification has even finished vibrating. You enthusiastically continue the discussion and start making arrangements. Often checking in to see how she's doing with you feels right because you're being attentive and caring, but what you're not realizing is that with every eager text and attempt to maintain the spark, you're tipping the scales and telling her consciously or unconsciously that you're investing far more in her than she is in you. The paradox is that your genuine concern can make you seem like you have no other choice, like your world revolves around her. Your self-respect and attractiveness are at stake here, not being hard to get or hiding your interest. True attraction develops when a man exudes mystery and an unspoken confidence that says, "I like you, but I'm not dependent on you." Now, I'm not saying you should be cold or distant. This isn't about acting haughty or uninterested. Rather, it's about finding the ideal balance where she knows you're interested, but not consumed. An undeniably attractive aura emanates from a man who respects himself and his time, and he's unafraid of losing her because he recognizes that his value is not contingent on her approval or attention. Here's a more relatable analogy. Consider attraction as a dance. If you move forward each time without waiting for her to follow suit, you're no longer dancing with her. Instead, you're leading too aggressively, and the rhythm is off. Attraction requires space to develop, and space doesn't imply disinterest. Rather, it means respecting the flow. In real life, this means not answering every message right away. Avoid going above and beyond for every modification to the plan, and don't rely on her responses for approval. Present yourself as someone who is actively involved and fully present, regardless of her presence in your life. Take a step back. Women don't need a man who constantly proves his worth. They need a man whose worth speaks for itself. A man who doesn't rush to fill every void with praise or assurances, and who doesn't fear silence, instead projects an indisputable strength that attracts and retains her. Refocus and keep in mind that genuine appeal comes from how much you value yourself while caring about number 4, not from how much you care. The mental. This study examines the psychological impact of emotional detachment. Have you ever wondered why it seems that women find the most intriguing men who don't run after them, don't check in all the time, or don't try to beg? Here's the reason. It's all about the psychological effects of emotional detachment. Before you assume that this is about being distant or cold, allow me to clarify what emotional detachment actually means in the context of attraction and why it works so effectively. Not being available or eager to please makes you more mysterious and doesn't show you care about details. She finds herself drawn to solving a project or resolving a conundrum, which leads to a fundamental element of attraction. Being the man who can stay calm and detached in a world where attention is as cheap as a like or a heart on social media, the thrill of the chase is the desire to win over someone who isn't readily impressed or convinced. Consider a scenario in which she is narrating a narrative during a date that doesn't fully pique your interest. Many people tend to overcompensate, provide excessive attention, and laugh at every joke. The intention was to make her feel good and appreciated. But what if you listened intently without going overboard, nodded when necessary, and responded carefully when necessary without seeming overly forced? She begins to question whether I actually made him laugh or if he truly finds me funny. Your sincerity and lack of indifference make her more interested in you, so this subtle intrigue works in your favor. When she sees that you're not waiting for her approval or making every decision based on whether it will please her, it demonstrates that you have a life, a purpose, and an identity that are separate from her approval. This is appealing because it shows that you're someone worth winning over rather than someone who has already won. Men who have mastered the art of composure and can express interest without making it seem as if their entire world hinges on her response tend to attract women. Why does this work so effectively? It's because people, whether consciously or subconsciously, tend to value scarce things. People often take attention given too freely and without discretion for granted. It's the earned attention, the moments when she feels she's gained a piece of your interest, that creates a sense of value. Think of it this way: the more she senses that she has to work to get your full attention, the more she values the moments when she finally has it. Let's touch on the subtle art of detachment itself. Embrace the Stoic teaching of self-mastery in the realm of dating. This means mastering your own emotions and reactions when you can maintain your composure. Whether she seems eager or aloof, you're signaling that you're not seeking her approval to feel whole, and that, my friends, is the essence of what makes a person irresistible. Take, for instance, those moments when she tests your patience, late replies, ambiguous messages, or a hint of disinterest. The man who stays emotionally detached handles it with ease. He doesn't bombard her with follow-up texts or try to force an explanation. Instead, he moves on with his day content, with his own pursuit. This sends a message that he's strong, confident, and secure, not needy or reactive. It's the kind of energy that makes her question, why doesn't he experience the same emotional impact as others? What is it about him that ultimately makes him so centered? Being emotionally detached means showing that you care, but don't over-invest and can leave if needed, not to show off, but because you respect yourself. Women require that little challenge because it draws them in and demonstrates your maturity. If you've reached this point, it signifies your commitment to understanding the intricate dynamics of attraction and self-control. You're a man who creates his own attention rather than merely following it. I would love to know what you think. Have you ever engaged in emotional detachment and seen how it affected your interpersonal relationships? Describe your experiences in a comment or just type, "I'm eager to read your thoughts." And since emotional detachment is so strong, let's go on this adventure together. Number 5. Dispelling the myth of the pushover. The question is, does adopting emotional detachment make you a pushover? Let's examine this fallacy. Indeed, this is a common misconception. The secret to comprehending why women require your lack of concern in order to genuinely love you is to distinguish between being a doormat and being indifferent in a healthy manner. These two strategies couldn't be more dissimilar. Consider it. Being indifferent is about keeping yourself to your own standards and not looking to her reactions for validation. It doesn't imply you lack principles or limits, that you allow people to walk all over you, or that you don't care about the relationship or the person. Understanding that your worth is independent of others' opinions. There's a quiet strength that you can't ignore, and here's the unexpected reality. This type of confidence attracts women because it demonstrates that you're not just another male vying for her approval. In other words, you're seeing someone new, and she makes a joke about you, expecting you to laugh uncomfortably or quickly defend yourself. A man with this inner confidence may overreact by attempting to show that he's aware of the joke, or by asking her to confirm that she's joking, but a man who understands the power of emotion will not overreact. Detachment isn't required to answer in that manner. He can respond with humorous banter, a knowingly shrug, or a smile. His self-concept remains intact. The answer is simpler than you might think. It starts with understanding that it's okay to say no occasionally, to establish your own priorities, and not to reorganize them based on every whim. When you stand your ground, you're subtly telling her that you value her, but you also value yourself, which is incredibly appealing because it shows that you're a man with standards, and standards In this moment of teasing, his subtle response demonstrates his security and ability to hold his own without seeking her validation. This subtle response fosters a sense of respect and admiration. Here's another thing to think about. Emotional detachment doesn't mean being emotionally unavailable. Rather, it means that you're steady and unfazed by the ups and downs that come with getting to know someone. When things don't go as planned, whether she acts unsure or pulls back a little, you don't react or feel the need to rush for her attention or seek reassurance. Instead, you respond calmly and stay true to who you are. You're not being a pushover. You're demonstrating that your self-worth is unwavering. This way of thinking is consistent with the Stoic idea that genuine confidence originates internally. Marcus Aurelius expressed it best when he remarked that the thing that makes a guy look weak or needy is not the act of caring, but rather the man who needs more of her praise or who goes out of his way to show that he cares. The next time you're wondering if being less concerned means you're being indifferent, remember that it's about holding yourself to your own standards and valuing her without sacrificing your own self-respect. When you embody this balance, you'll find that women are more likely to be interested in investing and to value what you bring to the table. That, my friends, is what changes. Men who can stand their ground with kindness and self-assurance without the need for external affirmations naturally attract women. The sixth game in the Modern Challenges series focuses on dating. Let's face it, dating isn't what it used to be in 2024. Social media dating applications and the availability of limitless options have significantly transformed the dating landscape. Due to this change, conventional dating advice now appears antiquated and ineffectual. Nowadays, most guys are busy trying to prove they're the ideal catch by texting frequently, starting conversations, and constantly checking in to make sure everything is going well. However, the traditional notion of being a doting, always available romantic no longer holds the same impact as it did. Doing this makes you more like every other man in the world. Caring is not inherently bad. It's the overinvestment that occurs when one cares too much too quickly. How many times have you witnessed or experienced the cycle where someone's passionate initial enthusiasm fades out as quickly as it started? Women, whether aware of it or not, pick up on the fact that you're elevating her and focusing your actions on getting her approval in a world where attention is cheap and accessible at the touch of a finger. Trying too hard can come across as desperate, and it affects how they see and value you. I'll provide you with an example to clarify this perception. 2. Men are using dating apps. One of the men responds with a lengthy paragraph expressing his admiration for her profile, mentioning a shared interest, and concluding with a question that suggests he has given it some thought. Guess which one is more likely to receive a response? The latter, since it indicates he's intrigued but not. When the other guy sends a straightforward, assured message like, "Hey, I see you're into hiking. What's your go-to trail?" Overinvestment, those who don't seek validation urgently and those who don't rush to please. There is a thin line between demonstrating interest and demonstrating your emotional investment before it is justified. But that is not to imply you shouldn't show interest or be a good person who isn't negotiable. Women are able to see when a man acts more out of a need for approval than out of true confidence. Social media is filled with influencers displaying pictures, reflecting the contemporary demands placed on men. Perfect partnerships set unrealistic expectations. Dating apps create the impression that there is always someone new to meet, which encourages a disposable culture. In such a setting, it is easy to succumb to the temptation of overextending yourself in an attempt to demonstrate your uniqueness. You make yourself too available, follow up too soon, and send texts that are too lengthy. While you may think it shows your seriousness, It actually shows her that you're trying to prove yourself. Seeking approval can make you appear like everyone else doing the same thing, so instead, maintain your composure. If she doesn't respond right away, don't freak out. If she seems aloof, don't rush to fill the silence with nervous texts. You maintain your identity because you know yourself and your value. This shows that the challenges of modern dating do not intimidate you and your sense of self remains intact. All likes, replies, and unread messages. In today's dating world, where everyone is vying for attention and approval, it's important to stand back and show that, despite your openness and interest, you're not actively seeking validation. Women should perceive your interest as earned rather than assumed. Being non-desperate for her attention sets you apart from other men. This subtle difference makes her wonder what you're doing and even question why you're not clamoring for her attention like everyone else. When she realizes that you're not just another man looking for her approval, but that you value yourself enough to allow her to approach him, that's when real attraction starts. If you adopt this strategy, you'll not only stand out, but also create the space for genuine interest to emerge spontaneously. Number 7. The art of genuine indifference. The art of being truly uninterested. I have a question for you. How do you exhibit the elusive quality of genuine indifference that keeps her interested without coming across as distant or disinterested? The answer is in developing the mindset that says, when I see you, I see you. When I don't, I don't. This isn't about being cold, rude, or manipulative. Instead, it's about focusing on your own life, ensuring that her presence or absence doesn't control your happiness or behavior. Consider how many times you felt compelled to call Che just to make sure she's still interested. Even though these actions are well-intentioned, they may occasionally indicate that you've become too emotionally attached too quickly. For instance, you might find yourself consistently sending a good morning text or frequently expressing your longing for her when she's not present. Contrary to popular belief, showing her that you're always thinking about her reduces her time with you. So, what does true indifference look like in real life? It starts with changing your perspective to live life fully, whether she does so daily or not. Do your hobbies, make time for friends, pursue your passions, and invest in your own development. When you do this, your attention becomes valuable. You're no longer the guy who waits for her to respond or who changes his schedule at the last minute to be available. Instead, she has to wonder about someone whose time and attention feel earned rather than freely given without conditions. The typical response when you're seeing someone and she seems a little busy or distant for a few days is to check in frequently, send her numerous texts, or even just say that you miss her in order to feel connected. However, the man who practices genuine indifference reacts differently. Instead of acting rashly or bombarding her with messages, he stays present in his own life, trusts that she will reconnect if she wants to, and concentrates on what's in front of him. This isn't a game. Rather, it's a strategy based on self-respect and self-assurance. The strength of this mindset lies in the messages it conveys, which include not reacting too strongly to her actions or constantly expressing your emotions. Even though you enjoy her company, you show that you don't depend on her for fulfillment by showing respect for yourself and your time. This small but significant change makes her wonder why you're not checking in as often, what you're doing when you're not with her, and what gives you such poise and confidence. One of the greatest things about exhibiting true indifference is that it is entirely consistent with Stoic wisdom, which holds that we have no control over other people's behavior other than how we react to it. According to Marcus Aurelius, you control your thoughts, not external circumstances. Understand this, and you will find strength when you live it by ceasing to try to influence how someone feels or how much they think about you. Stay focused on your behavior, attitude, and emotional health. This does not imply that you should never show attention or affection. Being truly indifferent means striking a balance between your interests and your independence, not just acting as though you don't care. Telling her that you're glad to see her or that you had a wonderful time together is totally okay, but you shouldn't repeatedly remind her that letting her miss you isn't a technique. It's a necessary component of a healthy relationship. Dynamics occur when you avoid focusing all of your attention on her. You're giving her room to wonder, to miss, and to consider what makes you unique. The more you adopt this approach, the more you'll sense a shift in the dynamic. You'll feel less reactive and nervous. Being more emotionally in control of yourself will allow her to see that you're not like other people who only give her their time and attention, and she'll begin to appreciate you more. The next time you're tempted to send that additional text, remember the power of true indifference and cherish the times when you do show interest, since she knows it's sincere and not motivated by neediness. Live by the mantra, when I see you, I see you. When I don't, I don't. It's a way of thinking that puts you in charge of your pleasure and releases you from over-analyzing. This makes you someone who commands attention rather than just drawing it, and that's when genuine attraction becomes meaningful. Number 8. Mastering the balance. Let's get right to the point. Women need you to seem indifferent so they can emotionally invest in you. This may seem distant or chilly at first, but it's really about comprehending the natural dynamics of attraction and emotional investment. Mastering this balance doesn't make you heartless. Rather, it makes you wise, self-assured, and extremely attractive. Consider this. By living your life with a focus on your own objectives, passions, and well-being, and separating yourself from the need for her approval, you cultivate a magnetic pull that distinguishes you as a man unaffected by external validation. This quality is attractive and commands respect because it shows that you're defined by your path, not by attention. Continuous messaging, frequent check-ins, and an obsessive urge to ensure she feels appreciated are signs of insecurity, even though caring isn't always a bad thing. These men are often overlooked. It conveys to her that you're entrusting her with your emotional stability, which feels more confining than flattering at this point. Consider the man who truly doesn't care as much, not in a condescending way, but rather in a confident way. He doesn't need to seek approval because he's aware of what he contributes, and he pays attention when they are together, but doesn't need constant reassurance when they are apart. What is it about this man that captures her attention? She wonders why he's so calm, what he's concentrating on, and what sets him apart from everyone else competing for her attention. He prioritizes his ambitions, nurtures his passions, and doesn't hesitate to take time for himself. This strategy isn't just helpful for dating, it permeates every aspect of life. You can overcome obstacles with resilience when you're not dependent on other people's opinions, whether in friendships, relationships, or the workplace. Your own convictions guide you instead of external praise. This is the source of genuine confidence and what distinguishes you as a man capable of managing the unpredictability of life. One of the most important things to learn from Stoic philosophy is that real power comes from being resilient and unfazed by outside influences. Epicurus once asserted that the only worthwhile objective in life is freedom, attainable only by disregarding circumstances beyond our control. This statement directly relates to relationships. You have no influence over how someone perceives you or how they will react to your efforts, but you do have power over how you come across and how much importance you place on their approval when you adopt this idea and become proficient in maintaining equilibrium. Something significant occurs. Instead of feeling overpowered by your relentless pursuit or the demands of being the center of attention, women start to feel free to invest emotionally, curious about what makes you so self-assured and focused. Here's the key takeaway. Genuine attraction develops in this area when she understands that she wants to earn your attention rather than just get it automatically. Let go of the desire to show that you care, but avoid over-investing in things that don't concern you. A man who commands respect and admiration is beyond his control, and that is what makes a relationship last, my friends. I appreciate you coming along for this in-depth exploration of the paradox of conclusion. We've looked at attraction and emotional independence and how valuing your own path and displaying balanced indifference can make you irresistible, not through tricks or games, but by exhibiting genuine confidence and self-respect. Keep in mind that true attraction begins when you're fulfilled in your own life, and she realizes that your happiness isn't dependent on her approval. If this insight spoke to you, please remember to give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment below. Please share your thoughts on striking this balance, and if you want to learn more, watch the suggested films on the screen that go deeper into relationship dynamics and self-mastery. Until then, keep putting your own development first, remain grounded, and keep in mind that your worth originates within. I'll see you in the future video.